February 11th, 2021 work session. Let us begin. I'll take a roll call. Let the record read that the entire council is present. We'll begin with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The first item that we have here on the work session is to go into closed session. Council Vice President, would you like to make a motion?
Sure, got a motion to close the work session under the statutory authority of the Maryland Annotated Code pursuant to General Provisions Article, paragraph 3-305B, subsection 7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on the Highlands project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Okay, Holly,
Okay,
tell us what to do.
just give me a minute. I'm going to assign each individual to the breakout room and you'll get a notice to join. So just select join.
Okay, thank you.
Fancy.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
Very well done, Holly. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't tell where we are with this.
Okay, we're in we're in the open session now, Mayor.
Are the slides up?
I was just getting ready to pull it up if you're ready.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
We need any kind of a motion to go back into the general session?
We already did. But thank you. Okay, we're here now. So, Gail, you want to go slide by slide and just see if the council has, read this? We'll just see if they have any questions.
Absolutely, be happy to. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to take a few minutes and talk about a financial summary update that we've done, comparing our actuals to budget for fiscal year 20 as well as fiscal year 21. The next few slides that I'm going to present include information on each fund for each of the 2 years. So if we could go to the next slide, which would be the general fund. We'll start with that. So as you can see, we're starting with fiscal year 20. Our overall surplus was about 2.1 million. And when you drill that down, we had a decrease in our budgeted expenses by about 1.2 million. And at the same time, a surplus close to 900,000 in budgeted revenue. Going into the fiscal year 21, our cash flow opening balance was 993,000. We could go to the next slide, which is utility fund. Okay, so there was an overall decrease in our revenue budget of 130,000. And at the same time, we had a decrease in our budgeted expenses that was higher, creating an overall surplus of about 121,000. In preparation of paying off the 2010 loan, which we did in early July, we opened with a strong cash balance of about 1.4 million. We could move to the water park. You can see in fiscal year 20, we had a loss of budgeted revenue of 367,000. We were able to decrease our expenses by about 272, leaving a deficit of about 95,000. Going into fiscal year 21, we have an opening cash balance of 317,000. And at this time, we're projecting before the end of fiscal year 21 that we're going to need to move 500,000 from water park savings, from water park savings to water park check-in due to the low cash flow. Can you go to the next slide? So in terms of RPTP, let me start off by saying there's a direct correlation between our expenses that occur and the revenue that is billed. So more or less, if we come in under expenses, then we're likely to come in under revenue. Obviously, there's some timing differences between us billing expenses and revenue received, but as you can see, we had a loss of budgeted revenue of 246 compared to a reduction in our expenses by about 123, leaving a deficit of a negative 124. At this time for fiscal year 21, we're projecting an increase in 50K in our revenue as well as our expenses due to the recent unanticipated chemical removal. We can go to the next slide. All right, so.
Yeah, let me interrupt you here. What I was trying to say was the council's seen this,
Okay,
okay? And I was just wondering, and I'm sure they spent the weekend digesting this. Thank you for the overview. But now that we're at the slides where we're just, listing the items, I think we could probably just begin by taking council questions. I think they'll
okay.
be good. And I'll start with Valerie.
I think I understand it.
I think you were,
Don't really see any questions.
I don't know about everybody else, but I can't hear Valerie. What about you guys?
Dale, what do you think our biggest concern is? Let me put it that way.
So after all the analysis, what I would say is I do believe we're going to have to move 500K from the water parks savings to the check-in. Once the expenses start for the summer of 2021, I don't think we're going to have enough in our cash flow that we're going to have to move that amount. I don't see any other issues or concerns with any of the other funds at this time.
You don't, based on everything that's happened with COVID, your anticipation is that we will not have to dip into our reserves in any way.
Correct, because with the help of town council, we have done a very good job in managing our expenses. Which if you look at this slide that's showing just for fiscal year 20, you can see that the bottom number, the decrease in expenses, the budget, about 1.9 million.
And there's no real large expenses coming up that we're aware of that we have not planned or budgeted for. And no surprises.
No surprises. The largest expense we just paid was about 500,000 for the utility fund bond payments, but that was planned for.
We've been over this so many times. I really don't have any questions. I mean, there's no surprises here. At least none to me.
That's a good thing in budget. Charlie.
I have one concern, and it's actually, I thought Valerie would bring it up, but one that Valerie has often mentioned, and it has to do with the WRTP and the potential for some of these emergency costs cropping up again that we don't know what we don't know. Is there any discussion about trying to budget for that, either in this fiscal year or maybe post-COVID in future fiscal years?
Well, for the current fiscal year, the way we're set up is any expenses we had would be billed back to the partners and their fair share in. I think it absolutely is something we could and should discuss for the upcoming fiscal year budgeting.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Larry.
One of the questions, Dale, I had is looking at the slide we've got up here on the decrease in expenses to budget, which is outstanding that we were able to do 1.9. My question though is there anything in there that's basically a deferred expense that we're going to need to deal with either later in 21 or in 22?
The only thing that I see at this time possible is some capital expenditures that we originally planned in this current fiscal year that we may not spend, may need to be reevaluated for the upcoming fiscal year.
I think that's something we really need to keep an eye on, because while this is great to be able to decrease our expenses by just under $2 million, if we're just pushing them off into the future, we need to be aware of that and keep an eye on it. And then my second question, particularly related to the water park, is the way things are looking right now, I think the water park's going to have another tough year coming up in terms of revenues, and we might want to be able to look forward a little bit and project that and plan for it.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morris.
Thank you. I don't have any real questions at this time. I want a small clarification, Dale, under the Water Reclamation Plant Fund sheet. fiscal year, your last sentence, it says fiscal year 21 projected increase of 50,000 in revenue budget as well as the expense budget due to unanticipated chemical removal. So you see the revenue increase of 50, but also the expense increase of 50. Is that right?
Correct. We bill on what we expense, basically. So at this time, I don't see any cuts in our expenses. So we would increase potentially our expenses by 50, which would mean our revenue would be increased by 50.
Good explanation for all this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keith?
Thank you, Mayor. I have no additional questions at this time.
All right. And lastly, Derek?
Yeah, two. First one, kind of piggybacking on what Larry mentioned regarding the decreases in the budget, that 1.9 million. And I was also wondering, how much of that, by percentage wise, really across the board, but how much of that could we continue to, how much of that will be reflected in future budgets as well? Meaning trimming the expenses a little bit. I don't really anticipate that, we're going to see a boost of 1.9 back into, the 21 budget, for instance, the 22 budget. But some of this, I assume, is cuts that we could continue to make into the future. Do we have any idea of, like what percentage of that is, that number is? Just even.
I think, Derek, I think what's came out of this is good lessons learned to carry forward in some, we took some frugal measures, and yes, indeed, if we can, keep that in certain items, that's great. I don't think I know we haven't really sat down and given any, any good discussion to, two budgets down the line, what we'll be able to do, but it's a lesson learned that we should keep in mind. That's my thought. Dale, did you want to add to that?
No, that's exactly what I was going to say, Mr. Mayor, and it's hard to believe, but we'll be in the budgeting process in March, so it's coming up.
Yeah,
Right.
we're 2 months away.
And I asked that as more like if there's new opportunity, if we have to find opportunity in the next or in the current budget or even the next budget to trim even more. Is there opportunity there? Is there a little more, quote unquote fat in the budget that we could trim, or are we as lean as we're going to get? That's just my thought process there. The other one I had, you had mentioned on the water reclamation treatment plant, how the revenue and the expenses were tied together. Could you just elaborate at that a little bit more and why those aren't, equal?
Sure. So when we build this particular budget, what we do is we put together our expense plan, and then whatever our expense plan becomes the revenue plan, and that's what we bill our partners as those expenses come in. So we would believe if we're under our budgeted expenses, we would be under our budgeted revenue. The other thing we got going on here is a timing, I'll call it a timing issue. We bill our expenses and we don't receive the revenue sometimes for the next 30 to 60 days. So you have some year-over-year play at times, you have time indifferences. So that's why those numbers will never match.
Right. No, that makes sense. Thank you for that. I just
You're
a little extra. And are we going to get into the backup financial packet? Are we going to talk about that? Or I have one question. Can I ask that now, or are we going to go through that specifically?
Let's get right into that. Let's bring that up. And we'll just take your question when
Okay.
we're ready.
So going through this, I really like to understand the highway user revenue, both what we budgeted, what we received, and then what we used, and then also what we're budgeting for the current fiscal year. And really, I guess my question is, it looks like we received in fiscal year 20, this is on this page. So we received less than what we anticipated. And I know we're required to, use that up essentially. Did we
So the budget, let's start with fiscal year 20. The budget is based on the information that we get from the Highway User Group, and they tell us what we should expect. Unfortunately, due to COVID, the funds weren't as high as they anticipated, so we didn't receive as much in fiscal year 20.
Right. And that makes sense. I understand that. So if we go, so a few pages later, the actuals, it looks like we spent 384,000.
You're talking about in the capital expenditures?
Yes,
I think,
correct.
Holly, bear with me, slide,
That's correct. I have it up, Dale.
10. You got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I know
Yeah.
that we budgeted 344.8, and looks like we received 369.5, but looks like we spent 384.
Correct. The requirement from the state is we have to spend at least the minimum that they give us, and we
Right.
actually end up spending a little more for the year.
Right. So, and we actually received less than what we anticipated.
Right, right.
Okay. And so then that leads to my question, when we budgeted for 21, I believe the number was 363. I'm looking for the page.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
right up on the screen.
And that's their current revised number that we've received. Yeah.
So we've received some indication from the state that we will get 363.
Yes.
I know pre-COVID, I remember a number it was increasing over the next few years, but obviously with COVID, the actuals were less. So I was wondering if we're anticipating less, or, if there's been any communication, or are we anticipating what they originally said, or?
Not at this time. We're not expecting less. In the last couple cycles, the majority comes at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. And then the other thing related to that, and this is just a request when we get to the budget work sessions, Jay had a really fantastic spreadsheet and gave us an overview of the town, where we've paved, where the priorities are and whatnot. And if we could get that again for the next fiscal year, I appreciate it. That was really a good visual on where we were and where we're going. And, the other reason, and I've said this a few times, the highway user revenue monies can also be used for walkability. And so if possible, if we could balance, depending on where we are with paving and the priorities there, but if we could balance some of those expenditures in the next budget between our paving needs, which we've put a lot of effort into the last few years, and put some aside for some of the walkability projects that we anticipate moving on, in the 22 budget, that would be ideal.
Okay.
At least have the conversation. That's just a request. And that's all I have. Thank you for that, Dale.
Thank you, sir. Keith, any questions on the backup financial document?
Yeah, so we're taking questions on 20 and 21? And the
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted a little bit of clarification on a few of the line items, just to help me understand what's going on. So on the FY21 general fund actual revenue page, which I guess is we on there. All right. So the zoning permits and site plans, I was just curious where most of that money was coming from. It's already almost twice our budgeted amount halfway through the year. Is that from the new?
It's, I may have to get back to you on that. What I was thinking it ties into the new rental agreements that we're getting, but let me double check on that for you, and I'll come back to town council.
Okay. And then on the next line item down, we budgeted 120,000. We've gotten 4,721 on interest on savings and investment. Is that because of interest rates, or is that a timing issue?
Unfortunately, for the last number of months, the interest rate that we've been receiving is 0.5%. About 12 months ago, we were receiving anywhere from 2.2 to 2.4. So we have really been impacted.
Okay. Wow. And then on FY21 utility fund actual revenue, and this may tie back into Derek's question, but I was just curious if you could explain a little bit the sewer usage charge. We budgeted 700,000, halfway through the year. We're not even close to halfway. Why is that? How does that work?
That's only for one quarter.
Oh, that's for one quarter.
Yeah, we literally just billed, I think it was
Okay.
Friday or Saturday, now that we're showing 2 quarters. So I think we'll actually make that number and possibly exceed it. That's all.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Those were my questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Keith. Any questions on this document, Greg?
No, just following along. Thank you. Appreciate it. Shout out to State Highway for taking care of that intersection there at Richfield Station. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Larry, on this document?
My questions were already answered. Thank you.
Very well. Charlie? We can get back to Charlie.
I did that because I'm sorry.
Okay,
Um,
go ahead, sir.
The only question I have is about salaries. If I'm looking at this right, there's a significant budgeted increase plan for salaries. Am I reading that correctly?
Where are you at?
We're
From roughly 435 to 508.
What are you looking at, Charlie? Which slide? Are you looking at the general fund?
Yeah, they're not, no, looking at the general fund, actual expenses.
Over 21?
For
Which,
yeah, for 2020 and for 21. What am I missing there?
what slide you looking at, Charlie? You have the same packet I do. What number?
Oh, I don't have page numbers on here, so.
I think it was page 8, Holly. Look like that one right there.
Yeah, it's that one. No, I'm sorry, it's that one, but 2020.
2020.
That's it. So if you look at line about a third of the way down, I'm looking at 432.5.
Mhm.
And am I comparing that correctly to 2021? So that's forward 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. 50, yeah, back one. 508. Are those comparable numbers, or am I missing something there?
Yes, they are. And what that would include is any increases, additional headcount. But yeah, it's the same line item to answer your question.
And so are we assuming additional headcount, or are we assuming covering sort of cost of living raises?
No, I think let's see, this for the general fund, we didn't add anyone last year. It was just cost of living increases.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Charlie. Where are we at in the order here? So, Valerie?
Yeah, just when it comes to the capital connections, it appears like we're getting funds in like we expected.
Capital connections, we have received 18. We're expecting to receive 4 more. And these numbers, as you're looking at them, only reflect like 7 or 8, but we just got a bunch in from the Heritage, and we're expecting 4 more. We received 1 last year for a total of 23 for phase 1.
That's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, very good. Let's move to committee formation discussion. Vice President Favre, I think you wanted to lead the effort here.
Yeah, I'll just kick this off briefly, then we'll go around. So We on council have been looking at our existing committees and had some suggestions on creating some new ones. So over the Christmas break, we did a little project to come up with those, and we'd like to roll those out today if we could. So I'll go through just briefly, mention them, and then I'll pass to the chair of each to, if they want to say a few words about their either current or new role. So for our existing committees, we are maintaining the Economic Development Committee the same as we were, Larry as the chair and Greg helping him. Larry, you want to say anything about your committee?
Yes, thank you. Hopefully, we're going to actually be able to resume economic development rather than economic survival, which is what we've been dealing with for the last year, and trying to once again focus on appropriate economic development for the town. Big part of that's going to come about through close coordination with the updated comprehensive plan. So hopefully we're going to look very closely at that. Greg, anything to add?
Just like a lot of the committees, there's a lot of things that crisscross. Just looking forward to continuing to march down the road with Larry.
All right, the Twin Beach Opioid Abuse Awareness Coalition will remain as it is with Keith.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. So yeah, we plan to continue on in the same vein that we've been going on in the last 4 years, raising awareness about this issue. It hasn't gone away. I was trying to think back to what the numbers were on the sign outside of the volunteer fire department. I think it was 98 overdoses and 18 deaths for this 21. I'm sorry, for 2020. And we still have a strong membership. I do need to reach back out to North Beach and see about getting representation from their town on there. And we do have a meeting coming up in not too long. So anyway, thank you.
Yep. All right, the first change we're going to see is with the Walkable Community Advisory Group. We're going to switch that, and Charlie will lead this group now with me helping him. Charlie, want to say a few words?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have a ton to add at this moment, other than I'm very excited about this. When I talked with Derek quite a bit offline, I think everyone knows this is, kind of my passion. And in lieu of stepping out into something totally new, I would like to see some real concrete results for all the work that the committee has done over the last 3 or 4 years. And I'm looking forward to making that happen. But that's really it at this point.
All right. Next is the Green Team, and Valerie has graciously stepped up to chair the Green Team. Valerie, want to say anything?
Sure, I'm going to be contacting the current membership, gauging their current interest, and then working through the action plan that was provided for January 2020 through January 2023. And we'll see what we can do to get it motivated and moving, and also see how we can tie that into CBOX a little bit.
All right, great. And then we've got 2 new proposed committees that we'd like to stand up. The first being a climate advisory group, which would be chaired by Larry, and Keith would help him. Larry, you wanted to say a few words about your goals with that?
Yes, very simply put, the goals of the Climate Change Committee are to protect our town. We're all seeing the impacts of climate change, and what Keith and I learned as we were taking the classes on the climate change professionals, it's anticipated it's going to get worse. So I think now's the time that it's almost past the time that we begin to start planning for how we can accommodate our town to protect it from increased climate change. One of the nice things about climate change work group is that it overlaps with so many of the other committees: economic development, Green Team, basically any other committee that there is going to have some tie-in on the climate change. So we're looking forward to moving forward with that. Keith, anything to add?
Yeah, thanks, Larry. I appreciate it. Yeah, as you mentioned, I have a few facts here. I just thought I'd throw them out. But you know, Maryland is already facing the impacts of climate change, rising sea level rise, causing increased coastal flooding and erosion, more frequent heavy rain and flooding events, which I think you know, the town has had a little bit of experience with that, some of those erosion events. Intensifying heat waves and drought, which raises energy bills and puts vulnerable populations at risk, and increasing the severity and frequency of public health challenges like chronic respiratory diseases and vector-borne diseases are all being impacted, in fact, made worse by climate change. And Maryland's greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets from their 2006 baseline, they want to have reduced greenhouse gases in the state by 80 to 95% by 2050, and by 40% by 2030. So anyway, we have a lot of work ahead of us. So anyway, I'm excited about it. Thank you, Larry, for taking the lead on that.
And the final one that we discussed as a group, and really the main theme that we've heard is, you know, a lot of different things, a lot of different groups or a lot of different initiatives coming together, and that revolves around Kelms Field, and that whether it's the field, the property, the comprehensive plan, there's a lot of opportunity to bring different plans together into a single plan. And so we would like to create a Kelms Field or town center committee to look at all of that and put together a plan for the town. And that would be led by Greg and assisted by Charlie. Greg, you want to speak any about that?
Yeah, I'm really excited at the prospects of that. Through the first 4 years of my tenure here, there's been a lot of discussions in and around different aspects of Kelms Field. We know that it's a source of pride for the town. I know that we all want to anticipate and plan increased usability of the field, and the areas over there, really that overall area there provides some diversity there and forward thinking. And again, there have been lots of ideas over the years, and I certainly would be looking forward to open discussions about Kelms Field with Jay and Pat and Holly in the town hall. And maybe, well, definitely I would want to solicit some ideas from residents just to try to get an idea of, you know, what they're thinking. But it's an exciting committee, if you will, opportunity there. And I would look forward to working together with Charlie. Charlie, do you have something to add to that?
I do not, other than very similar and frankly related to walkability. It's something I really and not be stuck with playground. But I do think that that's a start, and I think there's lots of really neat things we can do with that space. I was actually walking there today. I did some planks at the playground. I'm looking forward to the new playground. I'm hoping it to be a little drier. But you know, I walked across a vast parking lot, and I just know we can do really good things with that space. Thank you.
Yeah, and the last thing we have is we're not envisioning this as a committee per se, but more of an initiative of the town government and specifically the council to partner with our three schools, primarily the three schools that our residents go to, Beach Elementary, Windy Hill, and Northern, to create more of a partnership to encourage more youth participation in our town and also in our government, the town government. So I'm going to take that on and really just look to build or facilitate those opportunities where we can get our youth interested in our town and interested in our local government. So we'll be looking for opportunities, whether it's, you know, specifically with one of the committees that we just discussed, or even just generally in the community, or you know, what it means to do one of the functions that one of us on this call do. So there's a lot of opportunities there, but again, it's really just to build that bridge with our youth and get them excited about where they live and their local government. So that'll be more of an initiative than a committee, but we'll see how that evolves. So those are our current, our new committees and the initiative that we'd like to pursue collectively, in this term.
Thank you, Derek, and I'd like to say a few words if I can. This is really exciting. Everything that you guys want to do as a group, I think. Well, for one, we've come a long way in the 25 years I've been in this town government. I can tell you that. And secondly, I really think we're going to see the fruits of this group entering our second term as a whole. I think any kinks that I might have had, you might have had, or worked out. And I really think that here we are, the first meeting of the year 2021, and we're talking about some really cool stuff to move forward with. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm just excited. Let's just put it that way. So thank you all for your work, and I'll just leave it on that high note. Next, 2021 August 19th Town Council meeting cancellation. As you guys know, the last 2 years we canceled the August Town Council meeting. We had to do it by motion. We did it early in the year. It gives this gives the staff some time off, trips, vacations, whatever. I will say that if you notice, I did keep the August, I think it was the 9th, work session. That is still scheduled. We can obviously, have a work session then, have a special meeting then, whatever we need to do. But basically, this has worked out really well for staff. And Holly J, I don't know if you want to add to how much you appreciated this. I'll let you say something, and then I'll go to the council. I'll go with you,
I can
Jay.
start. I can start, Mayor. Yeah, I appreciate this administration. Surely we've cut way back on meetings and different things from when I started with the town. I think everyone's time is valuable, and I appreciate one less meeting. That's for sure. And it's not one of those things, I think, where we're not getting anything done that period of time. And if there's something that comes up, we could always change that. But I'm going to be honest, any meeting I don't have to attend, I'm going to take that time and do something else. That's kind of the way I look at it.
And I would just add that I don't think the town is not moving forward in any capacity just from missing that August meeting. I think if anything, we're able to it gives us an opportunity to regroup and reorganize and plot out our steps forward versus having a meeting every single month. Thank you.
Okay, so anyhow, just to end the meeting, I'll hear from the council. Derek?
Yeah, we've done this the last couple of years, and we haven't seen any adverse effects to it. I'm in favor as long as we understand that if there's something comes up, we're going to hold a special meeting to address it, and I know we will. So under that contingency, then I'm certainly willing to accept this.
Thank you. Keith?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think Derek said it well. I have no problem with this taking that meeting off, as long as we can, we'll be called back if we need to meet. So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morris?
Yeah, keeping the time slot for the work session is solid. I can totally relate to quality of life. I've got no issues with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry?
I agree with Derek's comments, and hopefully there's no compelling reason for us to have that meeting in August. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Charlie?
Yeah, if there was any question, I think hearing from Jay and Holly certainly eliminates that. And the only negative is I could see August as a roughly targeted date for a first in-person meeting. But that's a roll of the dice anyway. So I support it.
Thank you very much. And lastly, Valerie?
Yeah, it's just my own personal feeling. Like the past 2 years, I continue to disagree with planning to cancel a meeting or not hold a meeting. We have no business to conduct. We can cancel out at that time, so I still disagree with this.
Thank you, Valerie. Let's go to the council lightning round, and we'll begin with Valerie.
Oh yeah, I'm just looking forward to 2021 and working with this town council. That's all.
Thank you. Charlie?
Yeah, I just want to echo the enthusiasm for these committees. I think it was interesting, before I was even on council, got an opportunity to be on a committee. And it's really where we're doing a lot of the, not just the sort of rote business of the town, but the new and exciting things. And I encourage, I guess I'll repeat this in our council meetings. I'm not sure how many non-council members are left on the meeting, but I would encourage other folks to express their interest and get involved in some of these committees. It's a great way to get more involved in the town, and you can see really some of the things that we've done. So I just want to echo that enthusiasm for the way this was set up and what we're going to do moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Larry?
Just building on Charlie's comments there, might be good, Derek and Holly, if we could get something in the newsletter about just these new committees and maybe some way for residents to get in touch with us. And then the only other thing I'll just offer is I hope this year goes a whole lot better than last year and gives me no reason to grow my mustache back. Thank you.
Oof.
Thank you, Larry. Mr. Morris?
Yeah, generally, just looking forward to advancing the ball, the various balls that are going on here in the town. I'm excited and energized for the next 4 years. I wanted to thank the mayor for being open with some of Derek's, the way he had outlined the committees. All of that stuff's very exciting. And I think the mayor put it well. You know, we're coming into the first meeting of 2021. You know, we're raising the bar. The residents certainly, taxpayers certainly, and residents certainly deserve that. And I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
Thank you, sir. And lastly, Vice President Favre.
You missed Keith.
I did miss Keith. Sorry, Keith, I crossed you off before I let you talk. Okay, well, Keith then.
That's all right. My camera's even working this time. My God, you know, I could understand it before. But anyway, so no, it's great seeing you all. I'm looking forward to a wonderful 2021. It's just going to get better. I know it's got to. I'm excited about the committee, the new committees, and looking forward to working with folks on those. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have an opioid abuse awareness committee this Thursday, I believe it is, at 6 p.m. If you can make it, that's great. And y'all have a great evening.
Thank you, sir. And lastly, Mr. Vice President.
Yeah, and Keith, you'd be surprised how many times people call me Keith, by the way. It just doesn't happen tonight. It happens a lot, actually. But no, I want to thank all of my colleagues. Put this new committee idea together pretty quickly and over the holidays too. So I appreciate everyone providing their input and working through that expeditiously. And also thank you to Holly and all the staff. This was a really good meeting tonight. We had a lot of really good information and a lot of good discussion, and it's going to benefit us in the coming months. So thank you everyone for that.
Very well. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Night, everybody.
And the ayes have it. Have a good night, everybody.
Night.
Roll
everybody.
Tide, roll Tide.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. You got that one.